The boutique manager didn't see Shaunie O'Neill. She saw a black woman in casual clothes and made her assumptions. With a dismissive sneer, she refused to serve her, unaware that the woman she just humiliated was a powerhouse who could destroy her career. But this wasn't just about revenge. It was about exposing the ugly truth behind prejudice and forcing the world to confront it. Before continuing this amazing story, let us know where are you watching from. Also, subscribe to the channel for daily upcoming stories like this. Let's begin the story. The sun was shining brightly over Beverly Hills, and the streets were lined with luxury cars and designer stores. Among them stood Eclat, a high-end boutique known for its exclusive clientele and jaw-dropping price tags. The store's glass windows sparkled, displaying handbags that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Inside, Sophia Laurent, the boutique manager, adjusted a display of silk scarves. She was in her early 40s, impeccably dressed in a tailored black suit, her blonde hair pulled into a sleek bun. Sophia was known for her sharp tongue and even sharper eye for detail. She had worked her way up from a sales associate to manager, and she took pride in her store's reputation. But something about her had changed in the last 2 months. Her once warm smile had turned cold, and her patience had worn thin. The staff noticed it too. She snapped at them more often, especially when they tried to help customers who didn't fit her idea of serious buyers. The truth was, Sophia was carrying a heavy burden. 2 months ago, her 16-year-old daughter, Emily, had been hit by a car while crossing the street. The driver, a black man in his 20s, had fled the scene. Emily had suffered a broken leg and a concussion, and the emotional scars ran even deeper. Sophia had spent nights crying by her daughter's hospital bed, her anger growing with each passing day. Why did he run? Why didn't he stop? Sophia had asked the police over and over, but the man was never caught, and Sophia's anger turned into something darker. She began to see every black person as a reminder of that night. It wasn't fair, and deep down, she knew it. But the pain was too raw, the anger too strong. That afternoon, the boutique was quiet. A few wealthy customers browsed the racks, their diamond rings catching the light. Sophia stood behind the counter, scrolling through her phone. She glanced up as the door chimed, signaling a new arrival. A woman walked in, dressed casually in jeans, a simple white t-shirt, and a wide-brimmed hat. She wore sunglasses, hiding her eyes, and carried a large tote bag. Sophia's lips tightened. She didn't recognize the woman, and her casual outfit didn't scream luxury buyer. The woman, Shaunie O'Neill, walked over to a display of handbags, her fingers gently brushing the leather. She picked up a sleek black bag, examining it closely. Sophia watched her from behind the counter, her jaw clenched. She turned to one of her sales associates, a young woman named Mia. "Can you go help her?" Sophia said, her tone dismissive. "But don't waste too much time. She's probably just looking." Mia hesitated. "Shouldn't we treat every customer the same?" Sophia shot her a sharp look. "We treat serious buyers seriously. That's how we maintain our standards." Mia nodded reluctantly and approached Shaunie. "Can I help you with anything?" she asked politely. Shaunie smiled. "Yes, actually. I'd like to see this bag in brown if you have it." Mia glanced back at Sophia, who shook her head slightly. "I'm sorry, we don't have that color in stock," Mia lied. Shaunie raised an eyebrow. "Really? I thought I saw it online." Sophia stepped in, her heels clicking against the marble floor. "This is a luxury store," she said, her tone icy. "Our items are for serious buyers only. If you're just browsing, I suggest you try somewhere else." Shaunie removed her sunglasses, her eyes narrowing. "Are you saying I'm not a serious buyer?" Sophia crossed her arms. "I'm saying our time is valuable. If you're not here to make a purchase, I'd appreciate it if you didn't waste it." The other customers had stopped browsing, their attention drawn to the confrontation. Shaunie's face flushed with embarrassment, but she held her head high. "I see," she said quietly. "Thank you for your time." She placed the bag back on the display and walked out of the store, her tote bag swinging at her side. The door chimed again as it closed behind her. Back inside, the boutique was silent. Mia looked at Sophia, her eyes wide. "Was that really necessary?" she asked. Sophia shrugged. "We don't have time for people who can't afford our products." "But what if she could?" Mia pressed. "What if she was someone important?" Sophia laughed bitterly. "Important people don't dress like that. Trust me, I know." Mia shook her head and walked away, leaving Sophia alone at the counter. For a moment, Sophia felt a flicker of doubt. Had she gone too far? But then she thought of Emily, lying in a hospital bed, and the man who had driven away without a second thought. Her anger flared again, pushing the doubt aside. Meanwhile, Shaunie sat in her car, her hands gripping the steering wheel. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm of emotions inside her. She had faced prejudice before, but it never got easier. The humiliation, the shame, it all came rushing back. She pulled out her phone and opened her social media app. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard as she debated what to do. Finally, she began typing, "Today, I experienced something that reminded me why we still have so much work to do. I walked into a luxury boutique, hoping to treat myself, but instead, I was treated like I didn't belong. The manager refused to assist me, assuming I couldn't afford their products. What she didn't know is that I'm Shaunie O'Neill, and I've worked hard for everything I have. But even if I weren't someone important, no one deserves to be treated that way. Racism has no place in our world, and it's time we hold people accountable." She attached a photo of the boutique's exterior and hit post. Within minutes, the comments started pouring in. People were outraged, sharing her post and tagging the boutique. Shaunie leaned back in her seat, her heart still racing. She didn't know what would happen next, but she knew one thing for sure. This wasn't over. Shaunie sat in her car for a long time, staring at her phone. The notifications kept coming. Likes, comments, shares. Her post was spreading like wildfire. People were angry, and they were demanding answers. She felt a mix of emotions, relief that people were listening, but also a deep sadness that this was still happening in 2025. She scrolled through the comments. "This is disgusting. How can they treat people like this? Shaunie, you're a queen. Don't let anyone make you feel less than. I'm boycotting this store. Who's with me?" Shaunie sighed and put her phone down. She didn't want to be the center of a scandal, but she also knew that staying silent wasn't an option. If her voice could make a difference, she had to use it. Meanwhile, back at the boutique, Sophia was oblivious to the storm brewing online. The store had quieted down, and she was busy rearranging a display of sunglasses. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, but she ignored it. It was probably just another email. Mia, the sales associate, was less focused. She kept glancing at her phone, her face growing paler with each notification. Finally, she couldn't stay quiet anymore. "Sophia," she said hesitantly, "you might want to see this." Sophia looked up, annoyed. "What is it?" Mia handed her the phone. On the screen was Shaunie's post, along with hundreds of angry comments. Sophia's heart dropped as she read the words. "The manager refused to assist me, assuming I couldn't afford their products." "Oh no," Sophia whispered. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through the comments. People were calling for her to be fired, for the store to be shut down. Her boss's name was being tagged repeatedly. "What have I done?" Sophia muttered, more to herself than to Mia. Mia didn't answer. She just looked at Sophia with a mix of pity and frustration. "I tried to tell you," she said quietly. "You can't judge people by how they look." Sophia sank into a chair, her mind racing. She thought about calling her boss, but what would she say? I didn't know who she was. Wasn't going to cut it. She thought about deleting the post, but it was too late for that. The damage was done. By the next morning, the story had made headlines. News outlets were running with the tagline, "Shaunie O'Neal humiliated at luxury boutique. Manager refuses to serve her." The boutique's social media pages were flooded with angry messages, and their phone was ringing off the hook. Sophia arrived at work early, hoping to avoid the chaos. But as soon as she walked in, her boss, Mr. Laurent, no relation, stormed into the store. His face was red with anger. "What the hell were you thinking?" he shouted, slamming a printed copy of Shaunie's post on the counter. Sophia flinched. "I didn't know who she was," she said weakly. "She was dressed so casually." "I don't care what she was wearing," Mr. Laurent interrupted. "Do you have any idea how much damage you've done? Our sales are already down, and now we're trending for all the wrong reasons." Sophia looked down, unable to meet his gaze. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Sorry isn't good enough," Mr. Laurent snapped. "You're suspended until further notice, and if we can't fix this, you're fired." Sophia's stomach churned as she gathered her things and left the store. The weight of her actions was crushing her. She thought about Emily, still recovering at home, and how she had let her anger cloud her judgment. She had hurt someone, and now she was paying the price. At home, Sophia sat on the couch, staring at the TV. The news was playing a segment about the incident, with footage of Shaunie's post and interviews with outraged customers. Emily hobbled into the room on crutches, her leg still in a cast. "Mom, what's going on?" Emily asked, her voice filled with concern. Sophia turned off the TV and forced a smile. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just some work stuff." Emily frowned. "I heard you on the phone earlier. Did something happen at the store?" Sophia hesitated, then sighed. "I made a mistake," she admitted. "A big one." Emily sat down next to her, wincing as she adjusted her cast. "What kind of mistake?" Sophia took a deep breath. "I judged someone based on how they looked. I thought they couldn't afford our store, so I treated them badly. But it turns out they were someone important, and now everyone's mad at me." Emily was quiet for a moment. "Was it because of what happened to me?" she asked, softly. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "Maybe," she whispered. "I've been so angry since the accident. I didn't realize it was affecting how I treated people." Emily reached out and took her mother's hand. "Mom, not everyone is like the guy who hit me. You can't punish people for what one person did." Sophia nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know, sweetheart. I don't know how to fix this." Emily squeezed her hand. "Maybe you should apologize. Really apologize. Not just because you got caught, but because it's the right thing to do." Sophia looked at her daughter, her heart swelling with love and guilt. Emily was right. She had to make things right, not just for herself, but for her daughter too. Meanwhile, Shaunie was preparing for her next move. She had announced a charity event to raise awareness about racial discrimination, and the response had been overwhelming. Celebrities, influencers, and activists were all eager to support her cause. As she sat at her desk, going over the event details, her phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. "Ms. O'Neal, this is Sophia Laurent. I'm the manager from the boutique. I know I don't deserve your time, but I'd like to apologize in person. Please let me know if you're willing to meet." Shaunie stared at the message, her emotions swirling. Part of her wanted to ignore it, to let Sophia suffer the consequences of her actions. But another part of her remembered the pain in Sophia's eyes during their brief encounter. There was more to this story, and Shaunie wanted to understand. She typed a reply. "Meet me at the charity event tomorrow. We'll talk there." The day of the charity event had arrived, and Shaunie stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her dress. It was a sleek, elegant gown in deep emerald green, a color that made her feel powerful and confident. But no matter how perfect her outfit was, she couldn't shake the knot of anxiety in her stomach. She thought about Sophia's message, the apology that had come too late. Part of her wanted to believe it was sincere, but another part of her was still angry. How many other people had Sophia treated that way? How many others had been made to feel small and insignificant? Shaunie's phone buzzed, pulling her out of her thoughts. It was a text from her best friend, Lisa. "You ready for tonight? You're going to kill it." Shaunie smiled faintly and typed back, "Trying to be, still nervous about seeing her." Lisa's reply came quickly. "You don't owe her anything. If she's really sorry, she'll prove it. But don't let her take away from your moment. This is about you and the change you're making." Shaunie took a deep breath, letting Lisa's words sink in. She was right. Tonight wasn't just about Sophia. It was about something much bigger. It was about standing up for herself and for everyone who had ever been treated unfairly because of the color of their skin. The event was being held at a luxurious hotel in downtown Los Angeles. The ballroom was decorated in gold and white, with soft lighting and elegant floral arrangements. A red carpet led to the entrance, where photographers and reporters were already gathered, eager to capture the arrival of the guests. Shaunie arrived fashionably late, stepping out of her car to a chorus of camera clicks and flashing lights. She smiled and waved, her confidence radiating as she walked the red carpet. Reporters called out questions. "Shaunie, how are you feeling about tonight? What message do you hope to send with this event?" Any response to the boutique manager's apology? Shaunie kept her answers brief, but thoughtful. "Tonight is about raising awareness and starting conversations," she said. "We all have a role to play in creating a more inclusive world." Inside the ballroom, the atmosphere was electric. Celebrities, activists, and influencers mingled, their conversations filled with passion and purpose. A stage had been set up at the front of the room, with a large screen displaying the event's hashtag, #No Room for Hate. Shaunie made her way through the crowd, greeting guests and thanking them for their support. She was in her element, but her mind kept drifting back to Sophia. Would she show up? And if she did, what would Shaunie say to her? Sophia stood outside the hotel, her hands trembling as she clutched her invitation. She had spent the entire day rehearsing what she would say, but now that she was here, her mind was blank. She felt out of place in her simple black dress, surrounded by the glitz and glamour of the event. She took a deep breath and walked inside, her heart pounding. The ballroom was packed, and it took her a moment to spot Shaunie. She was standing near the stage, laughing with a group of people. Sophia hesitated, unsure if she should approach her. Before she could make a decision, a voice called out, "Sophia Laurent?" Sophia turned to see a young woman with a clipboard, looking at her expectantly. "Yes," she replied. "Shaunie asked me to bring you backstage," the woman said. "Follow me." Sophia's stomach churned as she followed the woman through the crowd. She felt like everyone was staring at her, judging her. And maybe they were. She had seen the news coverage, the comments online. She knew what people thought of her. Backstage, Shaunie was waiting. She looked even more stunning up close, her presence commanding the room. Sophia felt small in comparison, but she forced herself to stand tall. "Thank you for coming," Shaunie said, her tone polite but guarded. Sophia nodded, her throat dry. Thank you for letting me be here. I don't know where to start. Shaunie crossed her arms, her expression unreadable. Start with the truth. Why did you treat me that way? Sophia took a deep breath, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. 2 months ago, my daughter was hit by a car. The driver was a black man, and he fled the scene. My daughter was badly hurt, and I let my anger and grief turn into something ugly. I started judging people based on their race, and I took it out on you. I'm so sorry. Shaunie's expression softened slightly, but she didn't say anything. She just waited for Sophia to continue. I know. My apology doesn't erase what I did, Sophia said, her voice breaking. And I know I have a lot of work to do to make things right. But I want to try. I want to be better. Shaunie studied her for a moment, then sighed. I appreciate your honesty, she said. What happened to your daughter was terrible, and I'm sorry you went through that. But you can't use your pain as an excuse to hurt others. Sophia nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know. And I'm ready to take responsibility for my actions. Whatever you need from me, I'll do it. Shaunie hesitated, then extended her hand. Let's start with tonight. I want you to listen to the stories people share. Really, listen. And then we'll talk about what comes next. Sophia shook her hand, her grip firm despite her trembling. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for giving me a chance. As the event began, Shaunie took the stage to a round of applause. She spoke passionately about the importance of standing up against discrimination and creating a world where everyone felt valued and respected. Her words resonated with the audience, and when she finished, the room erupted in cheers. Sophia stood at the back of the room, her heart heavy but hopeful. She had a long road ahead of her, but for the first time in months, she felt like she was heading in the right direction. The charity event was a resounding success. Shaunie's speech had moved everyone in the room, and the donations poured in, far exceeding her expectations. But for Shaunie, the night wasn't just about raising money. It was about starting a conversation. And that conversation was far from over. As the event wound down, Shaunie found herself surrounded by well-wishers and supporters. Everyone wanted a moment with her, to thank her for her courage, or to share their own stories of discrimination. Shaunie listened intently, her heart heavy but hopeful. She knew this was just the beginning. Meanwhile, Sophia lingered at the edge of the room, feeling like an outsider. She had listened to every story shared on stage, each one a painful reminder of the harm her actions had caused. She wanted to approach Shaunie again, to thank her for the opportunity to be there, but she didn't want to intrude. Finally, as the crowd began to thin, Shaunie noticed Sophia standing alone. She excused herself from the group she was talking to and walked over. Thank you for staying, Shaunie said, her tone softer than before. Sophia nodded, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. Thank you for letting me be here. I don't know what to say. Everything I heard tonight, it was eye-opening. I didn't realize how much pain I was contributing to. Shaunie studied her for a moment, then gestured to a nearby table. Let's sit down. They sat together, the noise of the event fading into the background. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Shaunie broke the silence. I'm not going to lie to you, Sophia. What you did hurt me. It brought up a lot of old wounds, but I also believe in second chances. If you're serious about making things right, I'm willing to help you. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. I'm serious. I don't want to be the person I was that day. I want to change, but I don't know where to start. Shaunie leaned forward, her expression thoughtful. Start by educating yourself. Read books, Watch documentaries, listen to people's stories, understand why what you did was wrong, and learn how to do better. And then take action. Use your position to make a difference. Sophia nodded eagerly. I'll do whatever it takes. I don't know if I can fix what I've done. You can't undo the past, Shaunie said gently, but you can make sure it doesn't happen again. And you can use your experience to help others learn. The next few weeks were a whirlwind for Sophia. She threw herself into learning, reading books about systemic racism, watching documentaries, and attending workshops on diversity and inclusion. She also reached out to her boss at the boutique, proposing new training programs for the staff and a review of the store's policies to ensure they were inclusive. At first, her boss was skeptical. "Do you really think this will help?" he asked during a tense meeting. "It's not just about helping the store," Sophia replied. "It's about doing the right thing. We have a responsibility to our customers and to our community." Her boss sighed but agreed to give her a chance. "But if this backfires, it's on you," he warned. Sophia accepted the challenge, knowing it was a risk she had to take. Meanwhile, Shaunie kept an eye on Sophia's progress. She didn't want to get too involved, but she couldn't help feeling a sense of responsibility. She had given Sophia a chance, and she wanted to make sure it wasn't wasted. One afternoon, Shaunie received a call from Mia, the sales associate, who had tried to stand up for her at the boutique. "I just wanted to thank you," Mia said. "Since everything happened, Sophia has been different. She's been working so hard to make things right, and it's made a huge difference in the store. The atmosphere is better, and the staff feels more supported." Shaunie smiled, feeling a flicker of hope. "I'm glad to hear that. Change doesn't happen overnight, but it sounds like she's on the right track." "She is," Mia agreed. "And I think she'd really appreciate hearing that from you." Shaunie hesitated, then nodded. "I'll reach out to her." When Sophia answered Shaunie's call, she sounded surprised, but grateful. "I wasn't expecting to hear from you," she admitted. "I heard about the changes you're making at the store," Shaunie said. "I wanted to say I'm proud of you." Sophia's voice cracked with emotion. "Thank you. That means a lot. I know I still have a long way to go, but I'm committed to this." "I can see that," Shaunie replied. "And I want to help. I'm hosting a panel discussion next month on diversity in the fashion industry. I'd like you to be a part of it." Sophia was stunned. "Me? But why?" "Because your story is important," Shaunie said. "It's a reminder that change is possible, but it takes work, and because I believe in second chances." Sophia wiped away a tear. "Thank you, Shaunie. I won't let you down." As the weeks passed, Sophia continued to grow. She became an advocate for change within the boutique and the fashion industry, using her platform to promote inclusivity and diversity. She also repaired her relationship with her daughter, Emily, who was proud of her mother's transformation. The boutique's reputation began to recover, and customers returned, drawn by the store's commitment to inclusivity. Sophia's boss even apologized to her, admitting he had been wrong to doubt her. But for Sophia, the real victory was knowing she had taken responsibility for her actions and worked to make amends. She wasn't perfect, but she was trying, and that was enough. The panel discussion was held at a prestigious conference center in Los Angeles, with industry leaders, activists, and influencers in attendance. The room was packed, and the energy was electric. Shaunie had worked tirelessly to organize the event, and it showed in every detail. Sophia arrived early, her nerves on edge. She had spent weeks preparing for this moment, but nothing could fully calm her anxiety. She stood backstage, rehearsing her speech in her head, when Shaunie approached her. "You ready?" Shaunie asked, her tone encouraging. Sophia nodded, though her hands were trembling. "As ready as I'll ever be." Shaunie smiled. "You'll do great. Just speak from the heart. When it was time for the panel to begin, Sophia took her seat alongside Shaunie and two other speakers. The moderator introduced the topic: Diversity and Inclusion in the Fashion Industry, Challenges and Opportunities. The discussion was lively and thought-provoking, with each speaker sharing their experiences and insights. When it was Sophia's turn to speak, the room fell silent. All eyes were on her. She took a deep breath and began. "A few months ago, I made a terrible mistake. I judged someone based on their appearance and refused to serve them in my store. That person was Shaunie O'Neill, and my actions caused her pain and humiliation. I'm here today to publicly apologize for what I did." The room was so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. Sophia continued, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I let my personal pain and anger cloud my judgment, and I took it out on someone who didn't deserve it. I was wrong, and I take full responsibility for my actions." She paused, looking out at the audience. "But an apology isn't enough. I've spent the last few months educating myself, listening to people's stories, and working to make changes in my store and in my life. I've learned that diversity and inclusion aren't just buzzwords. They're essential to creating a better world, and I'm committed to being part of that change." The room erupted in applause, and Sophia felt a wave of relief wash over her. She glanced at Shaunie, who gave her a small nod of approval. After the panel, Sophia was approached by several attendees who wanted to thank her for her honesty. One woman, a young designer, even hugged her. "Your story inspired me," she said. "It's never too late to change." Sophia was overwhelmed by the support, but she knew the real work was just beginning. She and Shaunie had agreed to collaborate on a diversity and inclusion initiative, and they wasted no time getting started. Over the next few months, they worked closely together, hosting workshops, creating educational materials, and partnering with organizations that promoted diversity in the fashion industry. Sophia became a vocal advocate for change, using her platform to share her story and encourage others to do better. One day, as they were planning their next event, Shaunie turned to Sophia and said, "You've come a long way. I'm proud of you." Sophia smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment she hadn't felt in years. "I couldn't have done it without you. You gave me a chance when I didn't deserve it." Shaunie shook her head. "Everyone deserves a chance to grow. The important thing is what you do with it." Sophia nodded, her heart full. "I'll never stop trying to be better." Meanwhile, the boutique had undergone a transformation. Under Sophia's leadership, it had become a model of inclusivity, with staff training programs, diverse hiring practices, and a commitment to serving all customers with respect. Sales had rebounded, and the store's reputation was stronger than ever. Sophia's boss even apologized to her, admitting he had been wrong to doubt her. "You've proven me wrong," he said, "and I'm glad you did." Sophia accepted his apology, but she knew the real victory was in the changes she had helped bring about. She had turned a negative experience into a positive force for change, and she was proud of that. One evening, as Sophia was closing up the store, she noticed a casually dressed woman browsing the handbags. For a moment, her old instincts kicked in, but she quickly pushed them aside. She approached the woman with a warm smile. "Can I help you find something?" she asked. The woman looked up, and Sophia realized with a start that she was another high-profile celebrity, testing the store's inclusivity. The woman smiled. "I'm just browsing, but thank you." Sophia nodded, feeling a sense of pride. She had truly changed, and she knew it. 6 months had passed since the panel discussion, and Sophia's life had changed in ways she never could have imagined. The boutique was thriving, not just financially, but also as a symbol of inclusivity and progress in the fashion industry. Customers from all walks of life felt welcomed and valued, and the staff had embraced the new culture with pride. Sophia had become a respected voice in the industry, often invited to speak at events and conferences about diversity and inclusion. She used every opportunity to share her story, emphasizing the importance of self-reflection, education, and action. Her journey from prejudice to redemption resonated with many, and she received countless messages from people who had been inspired to make changes in their own lives. One afternoon, Sophia was at the boutique, reviewing plans for an upcoming charity fashion show she was organizing with Shaunie. The event would feature designs from underrepresented creators, with all proceeds going to organizations that supported diversity in fashion. It was a project close to her heart, and she was determined to make it a success. As she worked, her phone buzzed with a text from Emily. "Mom, can we have dinner tonight? I have something to tell you." Sophia smiled. Emily had been her biggest supporter throughout this journey, and their relationship had grown stronger than ever. She quickly replied, "Of course, I'll cook your favorite." That evening, Sophia and Emily sat at the kitchen table, enjoying a homemade meal. Emily, now fully recovered from her accident, was beaming with excitement. "So what's the big news?" Sophia asked, curious. Emily took a deep breath. "I got accepted into the fashion design program at Parsons, and they offered me a scholarship." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, sweetheart, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you." Emily grinned. "I couldn't have done it without you, Mom. You've been my inspiration. Watching you turn your life around and fight for what's right, it made me want to do the same." Sophia reached across the table and squeezed her daughter's hand. "You're going to do incredible things, Emily. I just know it." The charity fashion show was a huge success. The event was attended by industry leaders, celebrities, and activists, all coming together to celebrate diversity and inclusion. Shaunie and Sophia co-hosted the evening, their partnership a testament to the power of forgiveness and growth. As the final model walked the runway, wearing a stunning design by an up-and-coming black designer, the audience erupted in applause. Shaunie took the stage to deliver the closing remarks. "Tonight we've seen the beauty of diversity and the power of inclusion," she said. "But this is just the beginning. We all have a role to play in creating a world where everyone feels valued and respected. Let's keep the conversation going and the action strong." The crowd rose to their feet, cheering and clapping. Sophia stood backstage, watching with pride. She had come so far, and she knew this was just the start of her journey. A few weeks later, Sophia was at the boutique when a familiar face walked in. It was the casually dressed woman who had tested the store's inclusivity months earlier. This time, Sophia recognized her immediately. She was a well-known actress and activist. The woman smiled as she approached the counter. "I just wanted to say, thank you," she said. "The last time I was here, I was testing the store to see if it had really changed. And it has. You've created something special here." Sophia felt a surge of pride. "Thank you. That means a lot. We've worked hard to make this a place where everyone feels welcome." The woman nodded. "It shows. Keep up the good work." As the woman left, Sophia felt a sense of closure. She had come full circle, from the person she was to the person she had become. She knew there would always be more work to do, but she was ready for the challenge. That night, Sophia sat down to write a letter. It was addressed to the man who had hit Emily with his car, the man she had never met, but whose actions had set her on this path. She didn't know if he would ever read it, but she needed to write it. "I don't know your name or your story, but I want you to know that I forgive you. What you did caused a lot of pain, but it also led to growth. For me, for my daughter, and for the people I've been able to help along the way. I hope you find peace and make better choices in the future. We all deserve a second chance." She sealed the letter and set it aside, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. She had forgiven him, and in doing so, she had finally forgiven herself. The story ends with Sophia standing in the boutique, looking out at the bustling street. She smiled, knowing she had turned her pain into purpose and her mistakes into a movement. She was no longer the person she had been, and she was proud of the person she had become. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story. Let us know about your thoughts in the comment section. Also, subscribe the channel for daily stories notification.